Hi, welcome back to Open Hand Farm. And if you've never been here before, I'm so glad you stopped by. My name is Penny, and today I'm going to be sharing 10 things that I learned from doing the Every Bit Counts challenge. If you don't know what that is a challenge put on by Jessica at Three Rivers Homestead, and she challenges everyone to take the month of August and preserve something, even if it's the tiniest little bit, but preserve something every day. And at the end of the month, you'll be surprised at how much you have to put in your food storage. I'm going to start with the least important things that I learned, but I still learned. I'm going to start with number one, which is I need new aprons. I had 2 aprons. Well, I have 3, but I didn't use the third one very often. So I have 2 aprons that every day I am preserving and canning and doing things that I'm making a mess on them. And by the end of the day, it had to be washed. So I was constantly washing these 2 aprons and telling myself, just go make a couple. But I didn't have time. So before next August, I need more aprons. Number 2, I need to make notes on all of my preserving recipes in case something doesn't actually go according to the way the recipe says. I had some struggles with my black bean recipe, and I have remedied that and made the appropriate notes. There are several canning recipes that I used that would say this will make 6 pints, and it ended up making 10 pints, or this will make 6 pints and it made 3 pints. So I went through and made notes on how many pints I actually got, or how many cups of an item represented the 20 pounds asked for, or all of those things that when you're putting together a recipe, you're like, I don't know how many pounds will make this many cups. So I went through and made notes, and that was a great thing to do for next year when I start to restock my larder and pantry. For number 3, I needed to find ways to work more comfortably and take better care of my back. I am not getting any younger. I have had some back issues this past year. So before the month of August came around, I bought a back brace, one that wraps around my waist, and I cannot even tell you how wonderful that is. I also decided that if I was going to be peeling something that took a longer time, I sat on a stool in the kitchen, or I sat at my table, or when I picked green beans off of the plants, I did that outside in my big rocking chair on the front porch. You don't have to just stand in the kitchen and do all this work. So that was a very important thing that I learned this year. The 4th thing that I've learned was that even though I can make a list of items that I think I want to go ahead and preserve this month, my produce actually dictates what I'm going to preserve. Because if I'm bringing a bunch of tomatoes in and I'm saying, nope, today I already plan to make soup, and those tomatoes just sit for a couple of days because I have things already planned, then I'm wasting my tomatoes. So when I make lists of things that I want to make, I need to not say I'm going to do all of these this week and all of these this week, because it might not work that way. I have to take care of whatever is harvested in the garden first. The 5th thing I learned kind of comes because of number 4, Because I have produce coming in, my preserving can get boring. I have all these wonderful things that I want to try and do something new and different, but when my produce is ready, I need to do it. So if you watch my videos, you will see that several times a week, I'm freezing raspberries. That's because I have raspberries and I have to go pick them and I preserve them instead of just letting them go to waste in the fridge. Or I'm making pizza tomatoes in the dehydrator, or I'm making kale chips because those are two more things that I have lots of. I had a week that I made lots of beets because I had 26 pounds of beets. So maybe those are not the most interesting thing, but I learned that I need to come up with some more recipes that I can use these items and not get bored with them. Number 6. Now, we remedied this one this year, but only because I learned it before I even started the challenge this year. Storage can be a problem. And I don't know how some of you who do not have a larder or a pantry, I know I've talked with some of you and you store things under beds. I think that's amazing that you could just pull out your little tub under the bed and decide what you're going to have. I am so proud of you for finding ways to store. I don't have a lot of hidden areas in this house that I could store a lot of things. Now I could put some jars in here, but that wouldn't hold very many. So we were able to go ahead and buy a new shelf unit to put down in our larder. And I am so thrilled that my husband is able to build some things. He's not a perfected, finished carpenter, but he could put some things together, and I am proud of that. So he made some risers for the shelves so that we had even more shelf space. And you might say, Penny, it's you and your husband. Why do you need that much shelf space? Why do you need to store that much food? Well, because we don't just feed ourselves. We feed our family at times. We feed people in our community at times. We do dinners at churches that we provide food for. So storage this year needed to be increased, and I am so thankful that we had room to put an extra shelf in. Number 7, next year when I plant seedlings and plant in the garden, I need to plant about 4 rows of paste tomatoes. I have usually done some slicers, some paste. I planted some this year that said they could be used for sauces. One of them, yes, it does a good job. The other one, not so much, and that's the most prolific one that I have. So I really need either San Marzano or paste tomatoes next year in a big number instead of all the slicers that I have planted in the past. That's a big thing to learn this year. Number 8, you guys, this is a big one. My electric canner is my best friend during the month of August. I am a very busy person, and I know that a lot of you are as well. So when I get up in the morning and I look at my list of things to do for the day, or places I need to go, or people I'm going to be meeting with, I think, oh my gosh, I need to preserve something. So I throw it in the canner, I get it going, and I walk away. I cannot even tell you how relaxing canning is with my electric canner. Actually, I think I'm going to start now to save up to have a second one for next year. And a lot of the things that I canned, I had to get out the big pressure canner as well and run both of them at the same time. So if I could have 2 electric canners to run at the same time, That would even be better. Number 9. This one is so big to me. Now, it might not be big to you, and that is fine. But this year, as I was doing the Every Bit Counts challenge, I was looking forward to the challenge that I do that Jessica also puts on called the Pantry Challenge. And in that challenge, you are to go through January and February and try not to spend any money at the grocery store and make all of your meals out of your pantry, freezer, wherever you have food stored. We did this last year and we did a pretty good job. I was really surprised. Actually, I'm calling it the miracle of the loaves and fishes because I don't know how we fed as many people as we did from what we had in our pantry. We had monthly family dinners, monthly community dinners, ladies' coffees twice a month, Bible studies every Tuesday night. We had our son and his family living with us, so there were 4 of them eating at the time. My other daughter would come up and we would have the family that just lives here dinners twice a week. We had special meals at church that we volunteered to cook for. It was amazing. We had so many opportunities to share what we had in our pantry and our larder. And if you want to see what our final expenditure was, I'll leave a card with a link to the playlist of our pantry challenge last year. I'll also leave a link in the description box. So, when I was planning my Every Bit Counts challenge this year, I thought about it and thought, if I am going out and spending money in August to have food available in January and February, then isn't it the same as spending this August money in January and February? So I challenged myself through the Every Bit Counts challenge to only buy things if absolutely necessary to make things that I was preserving. We used items out of our freezer. We used items that we already keep in storage, like beans and oats and things like that. We used things from our garden. That is what I tried to use through the Every Bit Counts challenge. Now, we did end up buying a few things. So let me tell you what those things were and how much I spent for the month of August for the Every Bit Counts challenge. We bought onions, and those were $9. There were 2 10-pound bags. We bought Parmesan cheese, and that went on top of the pizza tomatoes. And we didn't use the full container, but I went ahead and put the price in because we did buy the container, and that was $14. Garbanzo beans to make hummus in a jar, $3. Chipotle peppers in a can, and that's what I use for my black beans. We used 2 of those, so that was $3.50. Chicken broth, we bought a box at Costco. I did not use all of them, but I usually have them on hand, but I did buy them in August in case I would need them. So I'm going to count that. So that's $12. We have ground pork in our freezer, and one of the recipes that I like to can and have the other items already on hand for was zuppa, and it uses Italian sausage. So we flavored our pork. So that's what I used in the soup this year, and that was $4.50. And of course, if you're canning tomato products, you need lemon juice or lime juice. and we did salsa, so we needed cilantro. So we had a total of $50.50 that we spent in the month of August that was dedicated to the Every Bit Counts challenge. Everything else was used from items we have on hand. Now, will I apply that to my pantry challenge expenses in January and February? No, I won't, because we are not only using those items in January and February, we're using them throughout the year. Like, I've already used some of the products that we preserved with some of those items. So they are not exclusive to the pantry challenge, but am I happy with the fact that I had everything else I needed in order to can or preserve all of the things I did in the month of August? Yes, I am very pleased that we only spent $50. So what Mark likes to do after I do my challenge and I have all of my canned goods and freezer items sitting out is he likes to look at them and count how many meals could be made from these items. Now, he doesn't count everything. He only counts the soups and the meats. If there is a quart jar of soup, he counts that as one meal because it will feed both of us for one meal. If it is a pint jar of soup, he counts 2 of them as one meal. If it is a pint of meat, he counts that as one meal because that will provide the basis for one meal for 2 or 3 people. So when he got done counting this year, he had counted up 63 meals. So if we divide that $50 by 63, we end up with about 80 cents a meal in those jars. But that does not represent all of the other jars of vegetables and fruit and sauces, jams and jellies, frozen peppers and frozen berries and tomato sauces and all of that other wonderful stuff that will be parts of meals. I feel really good about having spent 80 cents a meal on the things that I preserved for the month of August. And number 10 is, if I can't, I can't. And that might just seem so simple to you, but as a very busy person and someone who wants to, in her videos, have wonderful new fresh ideas for all of you, and yet be obedient to God for when He sends people to my home to visit, to take time out to do that, for when He wants me to have a community dinner, to take time out to do that, for when He wants me to have ladies' coffee group at my house and take time out for that, and go to Bible study on Tuesday nights and take time out for that, and watch babies when I need to watch babies. It can be hard sometimes to say, darn it, I wanted to do some canning so that I could teach them something new. But here's the thing. I am so thankful for the friendships that I have gained on this channel, and so thankful for all of your encouragements. I just couldn't do this without you. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming along and following me, even when I don't make perfect videos and maybe I leave a recipe out that you needed or give you a recipe that wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Thanks again for coming along. Thank you for your support. Thank you for learning along with me. Maybe I have shared something today that will help you next August if you like to do the Every Bit Counts challenge. These were all different things than what I learned last year. Except for the canner, maybe. I really love my canner. But if you want to see what I learned last year, I'll leave a card to that video up here, as well as a link in the description box. I am so excited to hear from you. Let me know if you learned anything this year as you were doing the Every Bit Counts challenge. And until my next video, blessings on you and yours.